Mike Brown said, just want an explanation why Miami is over Tennessee. Love the vids, though. Thanks for those kind words, and let's explain that. Yo! What's going on, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope you're having a great start to your week. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. It is time for everybody's favorite, or one of everybody's favorite videos of the week. And that's the MBG poll. Now, as we all know and have come accustomed to, the MBG poll is far superior to the AP poll because, number one, I am not a nerd. The AP guys, they are nerds. And number two, I explained to you why I have each team ranked where they are. So yeah, it's as simple as that. And I do want to apologize. I was late to posting this on Twitter. I normally try to get this up Saturday night, but I wound up not even posting it till Sunday night after the recap. Premise of this video is relatively simple. We're going to react to the AP rankings, and then I'm going to give you mine. And I have no idea what the AP rankings look at. I always save my reaction to this video, so let's pull them up. Hold on. All right, got it right here. Starting on things with 25, working our way up. Okay, Boise State, they jump in at 25. Nice to see that. They're a softball club. Kansas State, they dropped to 23, and kind of lucky to be ranked after that butt whooping by BYU. Speaking of BYU, they're at 22. OU dropped 6 spots to 21. They're not looking good, and Oak State's at 20. Working our way on up here. Don't look now, but Illinois 4-0 in the Big Ten. They're undefeated, coming in at 19. Congrats to them. Another team that some people wrote off early is Clemson. They're at number 17 now. We do not care about Notre Dame. They're irrelevant. And Louisville, undefeated at number 15. This is where we started to see some movement. We got LSU going up 2 spots. USC, okay, they only dropped 2 spots. And Michigan went up 6 to number 12. Missouri drops out of the top 10 to 11. That's interesting. I like to see that. At least the AP nerds, normally whenever a team loses, even if it is to a softball team, they just immediately drop on 3 or 4 spots. But I like where they put USC, and I'm content with that, although I have USC higher, so you're going to want to stick around for that. I agree with dropping Missouri out of the top 10 because they really struggled. Oh, saying they really struggled with Vanderbilt might be understating it. They went into overtime with them and only won because Vandy's kicker missed a chip shot. Getting into the top 10, Utah climbs with 2 spots. No arguments there. Penn State, I don't have Penn State even in my top 12. I don't know why. They're number 9. Then we got Oregon. Not too much movement here because there's no upsets. Miami goes up 1. Okay. The team's going up is because Missouri, they barely won against Vandy. Okay, they did bump up Tennessee above Ole Miss, and the top 4 remains the same. You got Alabama at number 4. The little bro, Ohio State at number 3. 2, you got the Georgia Bulldogs. At number 1, you got Texas. So I'd say probably the biggest headline for the AP nerds is Missouri dropped 4 spots and Michigan went up 6 spots. I've definitely been more pissed off before looking at some of these rankings. I can deal with this. Not bad at all, but let's get into my rankings. The MBG poll, and by the way, if you want to see this poll early before we make this video, I posted on Twitter. Like I said earlier, I try to get this up late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, but this weekend I was a little late. Coming in hot at number 12, I got Michigan. I don't think I should have to explain this one. It's fairly simple. Michigan proved themselves. They beat a really good team. They beat a team who I still currently have ranked ahead of them in USC. Is Michigan going to be a legit contender this year? Absolutely not, but when you look at some of the other teams, I was looking at it put at number 12, Michigan's your best bet. It's not that I think Michigan's crazy good. It's more so who else was you going to throw there? Notre Dame, Clemson, Louisville, LSU, Penn State, you see what I'm saying? That 12th spot, there's not too many teams to pick from, so I threw in Michigan, and I like that. At number 11, ahead of Michigan, they dropped my rankings. I got Mizzou. Self-explanatory, these past couple of weeks against BC and Vandy, they haven't looked good. They haven't even looked like a top 25 team. Missouri's got to figure it out. I thought they were going to be much better this year, and the good news is you're undefeated. Bad news is you're not looking too good. Hopefully they can turn it around, and it's crazy I'm saying hopefully they can turn it around because they're undefeated. But y'all know what I mean. If they keep playing like this, that undefeated record won't hold up much longer. Fortunately enough, though, for Missouri fans, they have one of, if not the easiest schedules, not just in the SEC, but in the nation. They got really fortunate there. They do play Alabama, though, this year. I know that, so we'll really see what they're made of in that game. At number 10, ahead of Missouri, it's not because of anything they did. It's just they moved up. Because I dropped Missouri, I got Utah. Self-explanatory, Utah beat Oklahoma State, and I don't even think Oklahoma State's a top 25 team, but they beat them with a freshman quarterback. And I'm curious, does anybody know how many games Cam Rising has missed in his career? It's got to be like 30 or 40 something. Cam Rising, for some odd reason, always has some mysterious injury, and he's always banged up. If you were to look up the definition of injury prone in the dictionary, there'd be a picture of Cam Rising right next to it. Hopefully he can return because they're just not the same football team without him, and with them, I think they could upset some of your big boys. Utah's one of those hard-nosed, gritty, and defensive football teams, so that's why I got them at 10. At number 9, they did not move in my rankings, so I don't have to explain anything. I got Oregon. At number 8, this is probably the most controversial one out of every team we're going to talk about in this video. I got USC, and as you can see, there is no symbol next to their name because I didn't move them. Now I know what you're sitting there saying. Matt, what? USC lost, man. How come they didn't drop? That's an outstanding question, my friend, and I'd love to answer it. After watching USC play Michigan, I didn't come away from that game thinking USC was a worse team after the game. I think USC is a really good and legit team this year. I really do. Their defense, similar to their performance against LSU, they impressed me. I know Michigan's not a national title contender this year, but to go into the Big House in a Big Ten road environment and play against them that well, I actually left the game more impressed with USC than I was heading into the game. Here's what I'm trying to go with this. USC was a 4th down stop away from winning that ball game at the end. With that being said, I think it's naive thinking to go, oh, well, since they didn't stop them on 4th down and they lost, I got to automatically drop them. That's what the AP nerds have always done, and that's what most people do, and I don't like that logic. In my humble opinion, they played a good game, overcame adversity with the pick 6, and that's why I still got them at number 8. I know you lost, but overall, if you're a USC fan, you got to be feeling really good about your team and program where it's at. And here's the thing. It's not like you lost to some unranked team. You lost to a legit top 15 team in Michigan. It's not a bad loss by any stretch of the imagination. I could go on and on in there. At 7, I kept them at the same spot. I got Alabama. At 6, this may shock some of you. They didn't move in my rankings. I got Tennessee, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be saying the same thing with USC. Well, Matt, how come Tennessee didn't go up? If you've been keeping up with my rankings, you would know I've been higher on Tennessee than everybody else. I've had them at number 6 now for what has it been, 2 or 3 straight weeks. Now you're just seeing other people starting to put them at 6, 5, and wherever they got them. For example, I told you at USC why I didn't D-rank them is because I was actually more impressed with them after the game than before the game. Well, at Tennessee, I wasn't more impressed with them after the game because I already knew how great they were. I made a video before the game on Saturday that Tennessee is about to go on a crazy good run these next few years, maybe next 10 to 15 years in college football. Whether people like it or not, this isn't Nebraska. Tennessee, they're here to stay, and this is one of the best teams in the nation currently. And I hate to not move them up after that really great win, but like I said, I can't harp on this enough. I knew who Tennessee was before the game. At number 5, they didn't move in my rankings either. I got Cam Ward and the Miami Hurricanes. They had a similar performance as Alabama did against USF. They was only beating them 22-15 at half, but identical almost to Alabama. They turned it on in the second half. Alabama didn't pull away from USF until the 4th quarter, but same thing, you get what I'm trying to say. Both teams struggled in the first half, and they won by a decent margin. Miami has the Heisman frontrunner in Cam Ward, at least in my humble opinion, and they're looking good. At number 4, didn't move either. I got Ole Miss. Some people may question that, and I understand it. Like, oh, Matt, well, why isn't Tennessee ahead of Ole Miss? Who has Ole Miss played? And that is a fair argument. But for me, why I like Ole Miss so much is obviously they have a really good quarterback, really good offense, but the defense is starting to come around. There's not too much I can even say to try to validate why I think Ole Miss is a legit team because it's similar to Ohio, Little Bro State. They haven't played anybody. Speaking of Little Bro State, at number 3, that's where I got them. Ohio State, what they've done this year, it is pathetic. When are y'all going to schedule somebody in the non-conference, man? Good gosh almighty. It's just pathetic, pathetic, pathetic. And here's my problem with it. I hate it for the fans. I have multiple tweet at me throughout the week saying, yo, Matt, when are you going to talk about Ohio State? Yo, Matt, how come you haven't talked about Ohio State in any other recaps, previews, anything like that, etc., etc.? And I'll answer that question right here. It's because I don't talk about teams when you're playing cupcakes. There's no need to. There's nothing to talk about, and it just makes it boring for the fans. And it's not like Ohio State plays in the SEC and has to run through a gauntlet. They play in the sorry and sucky Big Ten. I still think they're a really good team, but their schedule up until this point, it's been a slap in the face to their fan base. And number 2 and 1, they do not change for me. Go figure. I got Texas at 2. And Georgia, the Bulldogs at number 1. No explaining there. Let's go to the comments, see what some of you are saying. Blackie Chan says, shout out to Blackie Chan, I'm surprised you have USC in the top 10 still. Well, here's my question. If you don't have USC in the top 10, who else are you going to put there? Oregon? Let me ask you a question. Has Oregon looked better than USC? I don't think so. Has Utah, Missouri looked better than USC? Or Penn State? No, not in my opinion. What has Georgia done this season to be better than Texas? UT spanked a tough Michigan team and Georgia survived Kentucky. I hate comparing transitive properties, but based off this year, Georgia doesn't have a number 1 team resume so far. That would change next week, though, with a win. Hey, man, that is a great and fair point. There's a couple different elements to this tweet, so let's answer the first one. What has Georgia done this season to be better in Texas? Well, I don't know if some of you have forgotten, but they did. Like, similar to Texas spanking Michigan, you stated here. I don't know if some people forgot about this. But Georgia spanked Clemson, and Clemson's looking really good right now. And the whole Kentucky argument, I've already explained myself. I'm chalking it up to it was just one of those SEC games. And I already know some people are going to say, oh, here we go, Matt saying it's another hard-fought SEC road win. Here's the SEC bias. Okay, if you want to do that, let's do this. Every single team, even outside the SEC, that has won or competed for a national championship has had a game like Georgia had against Kentucky. They struggled with a team that nobody expected them to struggle with. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I don't think any less of Georgia after that Kentucky game. For me, it boils down to this. If Georgia and Texas, they're close. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't have Georgia way ahead of Texas. It's not an easy decision. And when it's a close call like that, the final question I ask myself when I come out with these rankings is this right here. If Georgia and Texas were to play tomorrow, who am I picking to win that game, and who would I bet my house on? If I have to bet my house, and this is a great question to ask yourself when it comes to picking these games, I'm picking Georgia, so therefore, I got my number one. Mike Brown said, just want an explanation why Miami is over Tennessee. Love the vids, though. Thanks for those kind words, and let's explain that. Although I love Nico for Tennessee, the young quarterback, the young phenom, I think Cam Ward is better. With that being said, I also like Miami's defense, and the rest of their offense is similar to Tennessee's. It's hard to stop. And when you got two teams neck and neck, I tend to always favor the team that has the better quarterback, and that's Cam Ward. That's why I have Miami right over Tennessee. This is a really good comment. Yo, Matt, it's a good list. I just disagree with Ole Miss over Bama and Tennessee. Until Ole Miss beat Alabama or Georgia, I don't take them seriously. And I understand where you're coming from because that's how I view Penn State. And kind of, that's how I view Ole Miss as well. The more I think about it, yeah, I mean, on a grand scheme of things, do I take Ole Miss as a serious threat? Not really. But they're not like Penn State. Like, Penn State is just completely irrelevant to me until they beat Michigan or Ohio State. But I think this year, for the first time ever, Ole Miss is legit. Miami and Ole Miss over Alabama is actually blank crazy. Hashtag Matt be bald. Thanks for that. And hashtag White Randy don't know crap. I guess we'll end it off with that. Many more things I could say. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But